Okay, I'm back. Something was wrong with my connection. Okay, it's 1 p.m. Let's go ahead and get started. So welcome all. In case you're wondering whether I'm drinking in the afternoon, this is coffee. Truly, if you have questions, but hey Sarah, hey all. So thank you for being here. So I guess I'll start with a short introduction of this workshop. My name is Marija Sajekaite. I am a Ph.D. candidate in political science, and this academic year I serve as a social science liaison for the graduate school. So we, the liaisons, like a part of our tenure is to host a workshop for the graduate student community about professional development. So since I'm a huge fan of Zotero, the citation management system I've been using for 6 years, I thought I'll just host a workshop about this. So could you please raise your hand if you ever used a citation management system before? Okay, so a couple of you have done that. Like, do you folks mind sharing what kind of reference management systems did you use and what were your experiences with that?
Yeah, so hi folks, I'm Spencer. I have been using Zotero for a while, but have bounced back and forth between Zotero and Papers. I hated Papers, so I'm back to Zotero.
Gotcha, so this workshop should work as a refresher for you as far as I'm aware, yeah. Probably, yeah, that sounds good. I saw that Sarah said they've been using Mendeley. So what were your experiences with Mendeley, if you don't mind sharing, and why are you here?
Honestly, I haven't really used any management system in a couple of years. And I found Mendeley okay, but I had a lot of like having, a specific journal, I'd have to create my own guide for how to actually have it show up correctly.
Oh.
Like have the references show up correctly the way that they need to be formatted for a particular journal. There was a lot of back end. I have no idea if that's an issue with Zotero or not, but a bunch of people had recommended Zotero as like a good system, and I downloaded everything like several months ago and played around with it for like 2 seconds and was like, I don't have the bandwidth to figure this out right now. I'll keep out an eye. I had seen previously that something like this had been run, so I just had it on my radar to keep it in mind if something like this popped up again.
Yeah, thank you. So this is great. Just so actually I myself learned to use Zotero in a workshop, and then I just like went ahead and like applied it and then learned more things along the way. That's why I think, so sometimes when you start off with a new software, it's not a new coding language. Like you don't have to spend too much time on it, but I understand that sometimes it might be daunting, right? So where do I start, right? I think like having a workshop like that where we just like go through the things with a group of people should be pretty useful. So this is actually the goal of this workshop. So I hope most of you have the Zotero and Zotero connector set up. If not, here's the link once again. Go ahead and retrieve it. I'll be showing some slides and some demonstrations of how to use the software, how I've been using it for my research. And like, I recommend that like you follow along the way, like if possible. If not, just like make sure you pay close attention. But like the goal of this workshop is like to really have you folks ready to have your Zotero up and running for research. So a short overview of today is we're going to start with, let me share my screen. And I'll be jumping up and from the windows quite a lot, but this could be a bit unnerving on Zoom, but I'll try to minimize those things as much as possible because I have slides, and then of course I want to demonstrate how things work on Zotero. So a quick plan for today is to really go through setting up your library, organizing things, retrieving items. There are different ways to retrieve library items. And then, of course, generating references, both single item references or reference lists. And then I'm going to talk about integration. So Zotero is amazing if you are mainly using Word for your research. So it just like streamlines your like referencing on Word so much. But then it's also good if you're using text. Maybe you're using Overleaf, there are integrations for that. So I'll talk a little bit about that, maybe focusing more on Word because I guess like not everyone's a tech user here. But okay, let's get started. So first off, a couple of words about why use a reference management system, or if I could emphasize this, why you absolutely must use a reference management system. I mean, this just streamlines and makes your work so much quicker and more efficient. So it could be Zotero, it could be other sort of software, but make sure you're using a reference management system in your scholarly work. So this is a link to download. Once again, I posted it on the chat for those of you who forgot to retrieve it. Zotero is great to streamline research. So it's not only about generating references, like of course, many people are using it just like to quickly generate references, but it's so great to streamline research, just like to have everything like research, literature related in one place. So personally, I found it great for studying for things such as comprehensive exams. Zotero was my main tool because I guess like I'm just someone who likes to see the items like in one place. Here's like the group of items, here's the literature I need to know, and then you can incorporate notes in Zotero. You can keep your notes there. So it just like centralizes all the information. So it's great for studying, not only reference generation. Of course, most people use it for to generate references, and it, like the ways you could do that are just so much like so different. You can like generate it like in usual styles. You could like tweak those styles. You could create your own style. Not sure why would you do that, but long story short, Zotero is very customizable, and you can just like make it work for your own needs. So why Zotero? And again, you may want to take this part with somewhat with a grain of salt, because like some people share their experiences using Mendeley or Papers, and like as you know, there are like many different citation management systems. And truth be told, I have only been using Zotero. Like sometimes I would look up how other reference management systems are different. But long story short, I'm not an expert of like how all of those are different, but I've been a pretty advanced user of Zotero for the past years. And there are some good things about it, right? It's free, unlike Papers. Papers is another nice app, but I think you have to pay for it. So Zotero is free, it's open source, it has a vibrant and active user community, and Zotero developers are pretty like, sensitive, and like they're reacting to the issues raised by the community. So this is another cool thing. But the fact that it's open source means that it's constantly evolving. There are loads of third-party plugins and apps that could like help you use Zotero in all sorts of different ways. Other than that, like once you get a hold of it, it's really easy to use. So like hopefully after this workshop, like you'll be leaving thinking, oh, actually it's really easy to use. So that's my goal for today. And it's really powerful and customizable. The search engine, like you can search within PDF documents, within like PDF text in the search engine. You can customize it, like you can tweak the panes, make it show up in a way that's the most convenient for you. So, and you can integrate it with other platforms. I guess like for many of you, Word is the most like important one, but it's automatic. So like working in Word and using Zotero just makes things so much easier. So most of the times Zotero is compared with Mendeley, and some of you have used Mendeley before and had like various experiences with it. So I guess Zotero, like if we would like to compare, Zotero is better if you are interested in storing different formats of items, whereas like for Mendeley, it mostly works with PDFs. The other thing, like as far as I'm aware, like for Mendeley, you kind of need to have PDFs stored in your local files, and then you kind of add it to your library. Whereas for Zotero, you just grab stuff from the web. If the PDF is available on the web, you can save it directly to Zotero. No need to save it in like some places on your local files, then drag and drop it. So this is pretty cool. However, just in all fairness, Mendeley has better integration with mobile and tablets such as iPad. So this is a big weakness of Zotero, that, okay, they have an iOS app in development, but like as of now, like the integration with like those devices could be a bit tricky, especially with iPhones. Yeah. Oh, Spencer, did you unmute yourself? Oh, again, like if someone wants to add anything, feel free to like pause yourself and unmute yourself. So yeah, I guess you may want to look up different management systems, but since you're here, I guess most of you are committed to try using Zotero. But yeah, Mendeley is probably another alternative that people are considering. And as I said, it offers easier integration with tablets, which is something Zotero developers are still working on. So, okay, enough of introduction. Let's go ahead and do the work. So in order like to minimize like me jumping from one window to another, I'm going to demonstrate first a little bit. So we're going to start with like how you're setting up your library, the very basics. And then I'm going to go back to the slides and summarize those points. So open your Zotero library if you haven't done so yet. And what you're going to see here, like if you've never used it before, like it should be empty. Like here, like I have a giant library of like all sorts of papers. And this is the basic interface of Zotero. So, okay, I'm going to check the chat real quick. Okay, so Spencer is saying that for you can use Papership to make annotations, and it's integrating. Is it? Yeah, like is it a convenient integration or?
Yeah, it's just like a drag and sync kind of thing, and it's free, so that's nice.
Oh, this is cool. So I didn't know that. I tried some other third-party apps, but I think they stopped working. So yeah, go ahead and try Papership. It could work with your iPad. So, okay, this is like your basic interface of Zotero. So like in the middle, you see your items, your library items. And on the left, this is your folders tree. So Zotero calls it collections. So collections, same as folders. So you have it here. You have a tags piece, like you could, again, like minimize it if you don't want to see it, but there are tags and you can organize your library in this way. And then on the right, you see the information about your items. So basically all sorts of like detailed information you may need about it, page numbers, issue, like really, and again, like this information will depend on the item type. So this is a typical journal article, but then you could, of course, if you click on a book, then like there are like all sorts of different types of information you could enter. So this is the basic interface. And I find it pretty convenient to use. I know that like if you're using papers, so many citation management systems are similar to this. And if you're using papers, I think you can view like a preview of a PDF within the software, which is like a pretty nice feature. And I know people who are using papers and are pretty satisfied with that. But basically for Zotero, this is, yeah, like all you see. If you want to open the paper, you just click on it, and it's going to open in your Acrobat or Adobe Reader. So I'm going to turn it off. So this is, yeah, the basic interface of Zotero. And again, as you're starting, there is one thing you want to do. So you either go to your preferences, or you could also go to your Zotero website. And basically what you do is you make sure that you have a Zotero account. So you want to have software on your machine, but you also want to create an online Zotero account, which means that you will have your information stored in Zotero servers too. So there are different ways to sync this data. I won't go too deep into that, but the default option is that your information about your bibliographies, about your items is there in the cloud. However, they don't have the actual PDFs. The PDFs are stored in your local files. But basically, this is still super useful if you are working on different devices, and if you want to access to your library, you want to see what's out there, what your collections look like. You could go ahead and sync your files. I'm not going to cover it today, but there's this add-on called Zotfile. I'm going to probably write it in the chat. So you could go ahead and play with that if you want. I personally haven't been using this feature, but mostly because I am using Zotero on one device. Okay, turn off the chat. Oops. Just a second. Okay, here it is. It's just, my display is pretty small, so sometimes sharing works in funny ways. So this is the interface, and in your case, it's going to be empty. You have plenty of items in mind. One important thing that you want to keep in mind is that you could keep the same item in different collections. So for instance, you have an item with some tags or with some notes. I'm actually going to go ahead and create a new collection as a test folder. So let's call it test folder. And it's going to show up here. So basically, let's say I have a paper and I have notes on that paper. I've read that paper, but I'm using for two different types of research projects, but I want the same information. I just go ahead and drag it to a different collection. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, but in all actuality, you can okay. You should be able to go ahead and drag and drop it. Oh my God, this is so stupid. I tried this a second ago. Maybe it's my machine. But basically, long story short, you can have the same item in different collections. One thing you may want to keep in mind as you are maybe removing items from your collection is that if you right click on it, there are two different functions. So you could either remove it from a folder, from the collection, meaning it will stay in other places, or if you move it to trash, all of its copies will be deleted. They will be moved to the trash. You're getting rid of the item completely. So this is just something to have in mind. And this is just something people get confused on. These are two different options. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. If you're searching for an article through my library, how can you tell what collection it's in? Oh, that's a good question. I don't really think you can. At least I am not aware of this. So let's say we are going to the big library and we're searching for an author name, right? And I have like a bunch of different articles. And yeah, actually, yeah, this is like one of the shortcomings of Zotero. I don't think you can see in which collection the item is stored. I guess this is like a good thing to, or maybe you can, then I'm not aware of, but I think you can't. And okay, I'm gonna take a mental note on this. Maybe this is an issue. I believe it's raised in Zotero forum somewhere. So this would be a useful function. So yeah, one other cool thing about the search. So if you click this little arrow and if you would choose everything, it just searches within your PDFs too. So let's say I have a bunch of articles about this and it's gonna take a little while till it searches, but like eventually it's just gonna, no, actually you need to be on your library. You need to click on the folder you're searching in, and then it's just gonna give you, let's say democracy. It may take a little while, but basically you could search within your PDFs, or you could just search for authors, right, or titles. So like in this way, you see like it's quicker. But this function is also useful if you just like want to search broadly. So this is it about the items. Let me return to my slides real quick. Yeah, just to reiterate, you want to create a Zotero account to make sure your library is stored in the cloud too, and that you can access it from other devices. Like data syncing and file syncing, this is like a different things. Like each library item will have it may have a PDF attached. However, if you're just syncing data, which is by default, you're only syncing the information about the item. If you want to sync your files, if you want to access the actual PDFs, look up Zotfile. It's a plugin. I personally haven't been using it, but you could do that too. Library versus collections, those are different things. So as I showed you, you basically have one library, and then within it, you have different collections / folders. So just once again, technically you can create another library. So you may want to do that if you're doing some collaborative work with other people who are using Zotero. So you click new group and it's as you can see, it's prompting you online to the Zotero website. And then it's, yeah, basically you're choosing an option, whether it's a public, private group, things like that. You could create it, but then use it just for yourself, not necessarily with the group. But personally, I think, yeah, I don't think, I personally never used another library. Having one library suffices, at least for me. But this is just another thing you may want to consider. Again, and make sure the folder, the collections tree, is working for your convenience. Just organize it the same way you would organize folders in your computer. And again, be careful, they're removing item from a collection and removing item to trash is a different thing. And well, maybe self-evident to some of you, but personally, I was confused by these two functions a little bit. Yeah, and Shirley's saying that group libraries are helpful, if you're sharing your information. So I personally never tried using this function, but yeah, you could go ahead and do that, or you could use it as a separate library for yourself if you need to. So let's talk a little bit about managing library items. Gonna return to Zotero real quick. Here's my test folder, but basically there are different ways, there are several different ways in which you can retrieve those items, which makes Zotero very convenient and useful. So first, you could just like go ahead and retrieve a PDF from the web. Let's say I'm using Google Scholar, could be any other kind of search engine. This is something I've been looking up. Here is a PDF of the paper, right? So you could either open the PDF directly on the web, or just like if you're on the page with the information about the paper or some other study and the PDF is available, it should work in a similar way. And again, so like together with Zotero, you should have installed a Zotero connector. And again, like it's here, click download for other browsers. And unfortunately, it's not working on Internet Explorer. If someone is still using that one, works with Chrome, Firefox, and Safari and Edge. Someone's using that one. So, and if the connector is not showing up, like go back to your browser, tweak some settings, like it should show up. But like basically, it's showing up as a convenient icon here. You just like click, and then it's showing up like this. So you may want to change the folder you want to save it in. Like this just like opens the structure of your whole library. I'm going to save it in the test folder. You can add tags if you want, but if not, you just click done. You go back to your Zotero library and it's here. So this is the basic way to retrieve one item from the web. And a cool thing is that like you could go ahead and edit the information. So you should always double check the information of the items you're retrieving. So this piece is, I know it's not a journal article, it's a thesis, meaning that I will get different components like of information I need to enter. So for instance, the year is not here. I just go ahead and enter the date. So sometimes the metadata that is returned by Zotero is incomplete or a little bit messy. So you may want to look it up. Like, of course, most of the times it will be correct, but not always. So, and this, I think this is an issue with all reference management systems. Like sometimes like it doesn't retrieve the metadata perfectly, but you go ahead, you edit it on your Zotero and it's there, it's correct for your further use. So here it is, we retrieved one paper. That's one way to do it. Another pretty cool feature is that, so for instance, you could retrieve multiple items from the same page. Let's say this is like a Google search page and I can tell that I have multiple PDFs of different papers available here. What do? I click the same button and I can choose which papers I want to save here. Let's say I want all of them. So I'm clicking OK. I'm going back to my Zotero and the folder has populated with all the items. This is like another pretty cool feature if you just grab all the papers that are out there. Again, you may want to go back and like try editing them, like see whether the information is correct, or maybe you're going to do it later. So this is another cool way. And like, as you can see, sometimes this process like is a bit slow, but like sometimes it takes time to retrieve this metadata. So this is the second way you can retrieve information about the items. You could do a simple drag and drop. So let's say I have some items here and then I go ahead and drag and drop it from my desktop or whatnot. So, okay, it will take a moment until it retrieves the metadata. So we drag and drop the PDF and it's here. So this is just like another way you could do it pretty simply. Go check the chat. To edit the info, you just click on the info. Yes, exactly. So like by default, like if you click on the item, like should show up info first and foremost, and then you just edit here. Like you don't need to hit any save. You just enter the correct info. So this is pretty cool. Now, sometimes you will drag and drop a PDF. So I'm gonna drag and drop this report. And you're waiting, and oh, so actually it doesn't retrieve the information. Maybe it's just doesn't have metadata. That sometimes happens, but you're still using it. So what you do now, you right click on it and you click create parent item, meaning that you're just going to enter the information yourself. You could try retrieving it once again using like some identifiers, but again, like usually if it's not retrieving this already, you just have to enter it manually. So you just click manual entry. You can see that this changes. So now it's a parent item and the PDF is within the item. If you just click the arrow, and then you should just like go ahead and edit the information yourself. So this is a report, and these are like the different types of information you could choose. Yeah, one other cool feature is that when you are entering the author name, you see, so this is like a one rectangular, meaning that this is, I'm going to enter the name of the institution, but you could add another name. And if you click here, it just like divides into two, meaning that you enter the name, the first name, and here's the second name. So this is just like another nice feature and example of like how customizable and convenient Zotero is once you learn these little things. Now, okay, let's look at this test folder once again. And okay, oh, this looks ugly. Why? It's all in caps lock. Actually, it's pretty easy. When something like that happens, you just right click on the title under info and title case, and then it changes. Like sometimes you may want to double check it because I don't think it recognizes proper nouns. So this is like another thing you can do. But yeah, long story short, it doesn't always retrieve information perfectly. You may want to go back and double check it. Again, I'll check the chat. Oh yeah, create parent item. Okay, good. Oh, thank you for someone else who answered this. Okay. Just minimize these panes. So just to reiterate what we've done here, there are different ways to add items to your library. Use the Zotero web connector in your browser. Again, VPN client provided by the CU is your friend. If you don't have it yet, go to the OIET website and install it. It will give you access everywhere. You can drag and drop from your computer. You could, the other way is to retrieve the item by using the magic wand tool. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and just show real quick where you can find that. So it's here. That's the magic wand. I don't really use it, but like if you have a DOI or an archive ID or something like that, you could retrieve it this way directly to your library. The other cool feature is that if you wanna have an item in your library that's not out there on the web, you could go ahead and create it yourself. So let's say I have an artwork, a picture or something like that. I just go ahead and create it here by clicking this plus sign. And of course, it doesn't have to be an artwork. You could choose like from different types. And then it shows this little icon, which is pretty nice because when you look at your library, you can recognize the types of items here. And if you right click on it and click add attachment, you click attach stored copy of your file. Maybe there's something you want to store that's only out there in your local files. Let's say I have this picture. And yeah, I just go ahead and edit it the same way I would edit other items, but then it's stored here. Like I stored this wonderful picture. And so this is how you create items that are not out there in the web. Those could be research notes, those could be interviews, those could be audio files, like really all sorts of files can be uploaded to Zotero, and then it will generate references for you, which is pretty cool, I think. So this is another way to do that. And then, as I mentioned, like we talked about search function because this popped up in the chat. Recently, the search function is really powerful, but it has its limitations, as someone pointed out. I don't think you can like find the exact collection the item is in. At least I wasn't able to do that. So this is another thing. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a little bit to check whether there are any questions or concerns.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for anybody that's using a Mac. Sorry, I'm turning my video on here. Do any of you have any issues with trying to get the Zotero connector to work, whether you're working with Safari or Firefox? And does anyone have any workarounds for that? It's something I haven't been able to get to work. So if I pull up a PDF online on the web, I can't, there's no little connector that I can just click and pop it into my account. So I'm just wondering if there's a workaround.
So it actually worked out for me pretty easily, but let me see what could be the options you should check. So like first, you may want to check what's out there that's appearing on your browsers. Like if you click customize, maybe the Zotero connector is already there, except like you haven't picked it to appear as your default option. Also, you probably want to go to Safari extensions or Safari preferences to check that. Like, have you tried those things? Okay, so you know what? Like, if there's time, like we can stay and try to troubleshoot these things for you. But other than that, I think if you just like go to your like Safari preferences, check the extensions and all those things, it should show up there. Does anyone else have any issues with like trying to run a Zotero connector on your browser?
I don't know if this is too straightforward of an answer, but I'm using a Mac and I used Chrome, and there's that little puzzle piece at the top right by the URL. Have you tried clicking on the little puzzle piece?
So I think Sarah's using a Safari, right?
I'm using Chrome.
Yeah, so it, like, as I said, so like I'm using Safari, right? Like it's showing up here, but let me see. So you may want to look up like your preferences, maybe here, maybe under extensions. Like, oh, is it enabled here? Yeah, so you may want to look these things up. And again, I want to make sure we cover what we need to cover. And then if there's time, I'm going to stay with you to try to troubleshoot that. But yeah, like, so sometimes it's funny because like sometimes Zotero gets glitchy. Like sometimes, you know, the Word plugin won't work. Sometimes the web browser plugin won't work. Like usually there are forum boards where people like have sorted those issues. Somehow, because this is like an open source program, sometimes can get glitchy, but then at the same time, it's pretty flexible. So this is a nice thing about Zotero. So let's talk about tags and notes a little bit, which is another cool feature of Zotero that I don't see people using that much, but I think you should utilize it. I think this is a super important feature. So for tags, you can assign up to 9 color-coded tags. Basically, I'm just using 2. I created this just for demonstration purposes, but you know, you could create a tag for the pieces you've read. You could create like a tag to make sure the pieces you want to read stand out. And you just, the way you do it, you click on the item. Then on the right, you click tags, you click add. And yeah, let's say I already have this color-coded tag. I just assign it here and it just shows this nice little tag here. You can stack the tags, right? Now, okay, what's important? So how do you create those color tags? Could be a bit tricky, but actually it's pretty easy once you know it. So let's say I want to create a tag, I just click add and I create a new tag here, right? And it's going to show up here. And then if I right click on it, I click assign color, I can choose from the remaining colors. I set this color, and yeah, and basically that's how it's going to show up, and I can stack those tags. So this is another cool feature you may want to use. As I mentioned, like for me personally, it's sufficient to have these two tags, read or to read, and you can assign up to 9 different tags. Now, the other thing about tags where it gets a little bit messy is, okay, so if I click on my library where you have all the papers, it's just going to show up all these tags that I don't remember creating. Like, okay, what is that? So long story short, oftentimes your research pieces will come with pre-assigned automatic tags. This is like a part of their metadata that is retrieved by Zotero. So basically what you want to do, you could just click here and it's not going to show these automatic tags. Now it's only showing the tags I created, right? So like I have these tags created in the past. I'm not really using them anymore, but they're there. I have my several color-coded tags. As I said, I could color code up to 9 tags. And then again, this is just like another way to organize and search for information. Let me check the... Oh yeah, so Sean is asking whether the meeting is recorded. So yes, the meeting is recorded. And again, yeah, so thank you, Sean, for giving me your email. I guess, yeah, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. If you could draft me a short private message with your email, I will make sure I will send you a link to the recording and the slides if you find that useful. I don't want to bombard everyone with those, but if you could just like write me a quick private message on chat, I'll make sure to do that. I'm saving the chat too. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we talked about tags a little bit. Let's talk about notes. This is another great feature of Zotero that many people end up not using, and I just keep myself asking why. But you could keep notes for separate research pieces on your Zotero library, which just like streamlines the research really well. So how this is done, there are 2 types of notes. You could create a standalone note, which you could either do by clicking here on this item. You click new standalone note, and it's going to show up here. So it's the note that's posted in your folder. And then it's showing up here on the right. So, and you can start writing. The text editor is pretty rich and pretty convenient to use. The first note, like the first line of the note, is going to show up as the title of that note. So usually I like starting with notes, and if you are neat about your notes, you can centralize it, bold it. It's a rich text editor. You can add pictures here. So one weird thing I do, I sometimes add a portrait of the author. It's just something I used to do when I was prepping for my comprehensive exams, just like to remember the people who wrote those pieces better. But basically this is a rich text editor. It's really convenient to use. You could edit it in a separate window. If you just click here, this is super convenient if you end up reading your PDFs on your laptop. Like having like a little window like this open and then like having like a PDF open on the side is really convenient for like quickly taking notes. So you could go ahead and do that. So this is the so-called standalone note, like it's posted, maybe like you're taking the notes about like this research project. However, you can create child notes that belong to a separate library item. So you can either click here, add child note, or you could right click, add note, and it's here. So this is tagged under the library item, meaning it belongs to this item, and maybe you want to take notes about this specific item here, right? And then if you want, you could drag and drop. Okay, my laptop doesn't drag and drop today, but basically this is what you can do. So notes are super convenient, and like if you're using this, I think Zotero becomes like a power horse of like all your research. Notes are super useful, and there are different ways to do them. So just to reiterate real quick, use tags. Remember, sometimes your items will have automatic tags. If you want, you can actually go ahead and delete them. So this is something I didn't show. I'm going to return to Zotero. If you click on my library, if you click here, you get like delete automatic tags in your library, which I haven't done yet. Should probably do that. I don't need those tags. But this is something else you could do to customize your library further. Color code, up to 9 different colors are available. This is a nice function, and use notes to capture what matters. And then keep in mind that there are standalone notes and child notes. So I think this is a great way to centralize research, just like having all notes in one place. Now, one other aspect that I want to mention is sometimes people get a bit confused about where the PDFs are actually located. So as I mentioned, even though I dragged and dropped, for instance, this PDF piece to my library, right? It's Douglas someone, so it's this piece. It actually creates a separate folder in my local Zotero files. It also generates data in Zotero folders, but remember that data doesn't include the PDF. So let's say I want to view this file in a folder, right? Like here's the PDF. I could just like click on it. It's going to open. But if I want to view it, I click show file. And then it's here. And as you can see, like these folders like have these weird coded titles, meaning that they are stored in like your local Zotero directory. But basically this means that this copy is different than the copy you just used. So this is just like something to have in mind. Like technically you could go ahead and delete this copy. Your actual Zotero copy is going to stay here. And this is just like something to keep in mind if you're like opening, like let's say you have it, like you have your research organized in folders and you drag and drop it to Zotero. And then, you go back to your local folders, you open the PDF and you want to highlight it or put notes there. Just like keep in mind that this is a different copy than the one you just stored in Zotero. So like personally, I only keep my PDFs, my literature in Zotero, making sure, okay, I have one copy, meaning that, okay, if I highlight something or take a note on a PDF, it's in the same copy. So I'm going to check the chat real quick. Are you able to search within notes across library? That's a good question. Let's see. You probably can. Like, okay, if you choose everything, notes. Okay, probably wanna go to my library. Okay, it's taking a while to. Okay, so it's pulling up all the papers I have notes on, and let's say, I think you can. It's not that I can pull something straight off my head of what I wrote in the notes that I could search, but I think you can. If it's everything, it's probably everything. So this is another cool feature. Never thought about it. Thank you for bringing this up. Okay, so let's see, we have 11-ish minutes left. I hope I'm gonna cover everything. Let's jump into the main feature of Zotero, which is like really generating references. So, okay, I'm gonna check the chat. Oh yeah, yes you can. Spencer saying that you can search the notes, which is like another cool feature. Yay, teamwork. So you can, like, there are all sorts of pre-built citation styles in Zotero, but then you can also go ahead and edit them or like add another style if for some reason you need to use something exotic. I don't know. You can create a bibliography from a single item. You can create a bibliography from a collection. As I said, always check the output carefully. It doesn't always generate perfectly, and then edit item info on Zotero. So I just went through these bullet points. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a little demonstration of like how this works. So, okay, references, this is what we are here for. Let's go back to our test folder. And okay, let's say I want a neat reference of one item. Let's say it's this item. I right click on it, and then I click create bibliography from item. So it's just this, and it's gonna prompt you a window with like all sorts of different styles. You may wanna choose, you can manage those styles. Okay, what's going on here? Anyhow, usually the pre-built styles are sufficient for most people, but basically, let's say I'm using APA style, 7th edition. The nice thing is that like Zotero updates, so APA is like releasing all those new editions. It's the latest edition, so it's already there. So just like to check the settings here, yes, we want a bibliography. We could generate a citation if you want, author year, or different in other formats. And if you just, by default, it copies it to clipboard, which is really nice and simple because it's just a simple copy paste function. So you do that, you click OK, and let's say you have a Word doc open, you copy paste, and it's here. It generates you a nice APA reference for a single item. Now, of course, you could go ahead and generate a reference for all those items. In this case, you click on a folder, right click, create bibliography from collection. Same drill, you probably want to copy to clipboard. You can save it as an RDF file if you need to. You choose a different citation style, you click OK, you go back to Word. Oh, okay, so here's what I did. I only had this one checked. So let's click again. Create bibliography from collection, copy to clipboard. Okay, here it is. So you get a full bibliography that you could just like go ahead and copy paste if you just need a nice formatted list of your sources. So this is what you do with simple bibliography generation. One other important thing is that you always want to check those sources. So let's say maybe you will see that, okay, the page numbers are messed up. Maybe some sources will, okay, they ended up including notes. I probably don't need that. But okay, these references more or less look nice. Okay, you probably want to edit that. You probably want to add a year that, but what's important? If you want to edit those things, you should go back to Zotero and edit the files here. Meaning that the next, if you do that like on Zotero, this will just save you time in the future. Don't do it on Word. Just like edit the reference here, generate a new bibliography, then copy paste it again. But long story short, you should always check it. The metadata is not always retrieved perfectly. How did you get a doc file? So, oh, Sandra, I opened my own doc file and I just like copy pasted. I clicked copy to clipboard and I just like copy pasted in a Word file. This is like all I did. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the integration a little bit. So one thing I really want to show you is like how to actually use it with Word. So let's go ahead and try doing that. So by default, your Zotero software should install a Word plugin. And again, if for some reasons you're not seeing it, try tweaking your word preferences, try tweaking your Zotero preferences. Now, at least for Mac users, the way it worked for me, you want to make sure it's enabled in 2 places. So you click on tools, like you're in your Zotero browser, you click add-ons, and then you want to make sure it's enabled here, right? I don't think you need, like, it's so Zotero Word for Mac integration should show up differently for non-Mac users. So it's on here. But then the other thing, the second place you want to make sure it's enabled on, you go to Zotero preferences, you go to site, and this is weird, this is not always intuitive. You click word processors and you want to make sure the Microsoft Word add-in is installed here. So you also need to click it here. I'm not going to reinstall it, it's here. So you do that, you refresh your Word and you open a fresh Word document. And basically it's already integrated with your Zotero library. So for me, it's showing up here. It should show up similarly if you are a non-Mac user, but you're clicking here and that's basically your Zotero pane. And here's how you go ahead and write your papers using Zotero. So let's say I'm writing something, right? Writing, and then I click add citation. My cursor needs to be in a specific place. This is where I want my citation to show up. I click here, and then this nice Zotero search engine is going to appear, and basically this thing is connected with your library. So let's say I am trying to recall the author I want to cite. Oh, it's here. I type it, I choose it, I click enter, and it's going to populate like that. So let's say I want some different options, right? So I want to include the page number. So let's say it's the same author. What you do here, you click here, and then it's going to prompt this little window where you enter page number. Let's say it's page 300. You could suppress the author if you only want to quote the year and the page number. Let's say you mentioned the author name in the sentence already. You click enter. It's going to show up nicely with a page number. And then, of course, if you want to cite multiple authors, same drill. Click here, whatever. And then it's going to show up nicely in the alphabetical order. And this is like how you generate in-text citations in Word. Now, why this is so convenient is that, like, after you're done like writing your paper or what, you want a bibliography. And the nice thing about Word and Zotero integration is that, like, you can retrieve it automatically. So let's say I'm done writing my short paper. What I do here, I click add edit bibliography. And then it just nicely populates the Word doc with everything I've been citing, right? So I ended up including only 3 sources, but basically this is it. This is how Zotero works with Word, and this makes matters so much easier. I mean, like, you barely get lost among all those citations if you do that. So this is Word Zotero integration. Just to go back to my slides real quick, just like to wrap this up a little bit. So Word users love Zotero. Go ahead and do that. The plugin should be installed automatically. If not, check your Zotero preferences, check your Word preferences. That sometimes, like, there could be some issues, especially for Mac users. Personally, I haven't experienced those, but I saw that sometimes there are issues online, but usually it should show up nicely. Now, you could also integrate it with tech, and I won't go into much detail here, but basically the add-on you want to consider is called Better BibTech. So this will mean that you will be able to export your citations in the text format, which is another like very convenient thing if you're working through this research language. And then you could also integrate it with Overleaf. So if you go to your Overleaf account and like if you're using it, you could integrate with it with your online Zotero account. And of course you could like alternatively, you could add a tech library you generate with BibTeX. But basically those of you who like really work with tech, I'm one of those people who are making their lives harder. There are ways to integrate Zotero with Overleaf and that nicely. So just to show this real quick, like once you install Better BibTeX, like which is an add-on, is going to show up here, and you could tweak the options, and the way you're going to export your citations is a bit different. So let's say you want citations from the folder, you click export collection instead of like create bibliography, you click export collection, same thing with a single item, export item, and this will just generate a file, a text file. So I just like, I don't need these, I don't need to export notes. Let's say I want it on my desktop, and then it's here, right? So like if you're using tech, you could like either generate bibliographies in this way, or you could set it up so that it would be automatic with Overleaf. So this requires like a bit more work to set it up correctly, but then yeah, it works great with tech too. So to wrap up, yeah, and this is something I mentioned previously, right? So one caveat about Zotero is that it's not really good with tablets and mobile phones, like especially if you're using an iPhone, but there are like some third-party apps that help you set it up on Android. From what I know, the official iOS app is in development. So this is something to look forward to. At least I personally do. And finally, I included some useful resources. There's like a list of various plugins on Zotero website. There's a link to BibTeX plugin, and there are also Zotero mobile support website. So there are all sorts of different resources for Zotero users. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. Okay, so Sarah is saying, oh, okay, time to check the chat. Were you using keyboard shortcuts to add references? So I've been using just like this Control V thing, like just like to do that for references. But other than that, yeah, you could just like generate references just using your interface. Oh, great. So Zotero connector is working for Sarah. Yes, of course, reinstalling and restarting everything usually works. Okay, we are officially over time, but I'm staying here if someone wants to talk or ask some questions or need some help with troubleshooting. Other than that, yeah, thank you guys for coming here. I hope that was useful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Rizwan.
Hi, I just wanted to comment. I've been using Zotero for many, many years, but I've never organized it. So this was very helpful to get some of these notes and tags tips. But because I've been using Zotero for many, many years, I have a lot of articles, and so I've reached my quota. And I'm at the dissertation stage now. So for those of you who are maybe early on using Zotero, probably because we're all academics and storing a lot of articles, probably by the time you get to your dissertation stage, you might reach your quota as well. So I find myself that I need to upgrade and actually pay for more storage space because I've reached 300 megabytes.
Yeah, so this is another caveat about Zotero is that like the 300 megabytes, that's the limit. I think Mendeley gives you more. So yeah, this is like another thing. I personally haven't reached it yet, but this could happen, especially if you are like uploading files to the cloud too. Yeah, so this is another thing to consider. Yeah, Sandra. Or, oh, was it Sarah? Oh, no, it's Sandra. Hey, did you, oh, you didn't raise your hand? Okay. Yeah,
No,
any other
Sandra,
questions?
you're muted.
Oh, I am muted?
No, Sandra is.
Oh, yeah, Sandra, you're muted.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry. I
you are.
put it on the chat, but there were too many messages. So are you gonna share the PowerPoint with us somehow? And then my other question is if you can repeat the whole process of how to include it in Word, because that was the most difficult, like the part that I couldn't, like how to organize materials is depends on everyone, you know, but the
Yeah.
integration with Word, I think it's the most.
Okay, so
And then select MLA. MLA is author and page, and the page doesn't appear.
so actually it does appear. Let me go through this with you once again. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. So basically, you could either, so there are two ways you could use your references in Word file. So first would be just like to create a simple copy of the reference, which could be for a single item. So let's say I'm choosing a random item, I right click and I click create bibliography from item.
Yeah, my bad. I meant citations, not references. That worked. But when you create the citation on the text, there's
yes.
no page number.
So you could actually retrieve it through here, right? But like for me, it's pretty redundant because like you could probably write it down. But then if you're working, so if you install, when you install Zotero, the word integration should be automatic. So like, can you see this on your Word file? Okay, good. So like if you click it, right, like you only see several options here. And let's say you're writing your paper, you click add citation, and this thing is popping up. Like, do you see it? And yeah, and basically maybe like the reason like you weren't able to retrieve everything, like your Zotero library may be empty. Like if you just, oh, you have it?
No, that like all this works fine and the citation appears, but I choose MLA and there's no space where it asks me which page it is. Or, like,
this is what
the
you mean.
citation is just the last name, but no page. You know what I mean?
So it just like prompts you references in another style, right? You want to have MLA.
No, it doesn't give me the page number. Like, if you want, I can share my screen.
Yeah, I could go ahead and do that.
and explain, because I have the Word file that I tried and everything.
Yeah, I think you should be allowed to share it too.
I'm sorry to.
Oh, no worries. I have time.
Okay. Oh, I cannot share screen because you're sharing. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So I have here my essay, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Add citation. And then I have a paper that is called Grado, or this one.
Yeah.
So I click on here, and then?
You click on the name, click on the exact author name on Grado. Here it is.
Ah, okay. And then I can say.
And if you want, you can, like, if you tick suppress author, it only leaves you with the page number and a year, right? But basically, yeah, so try doing that. Just hit enter.
Oh.
It should.
It didn't work. Hold on.
Oh, it should show up.
Grado 24. I don't know what happened. Hold on. Let me try again. Add citation.
Yeah.
Page 34. Okay. And now enter.
Yes. Yeah. And just like open your Word file to see how it looks.
Add citation. It comes here. It comes to Zotero. I don't understand why.
So, okay, try just open your Word file.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's here, and then
don't save. Open a Word file.
Yeah. Okay, you can open a new one.
Okay.
Yeah. So this again, like if you go back like to your widgets once again, right? Yeah, click on the search bar, like it's on the bottom, the red one. Yeah. So yeah, so it's a bit tedious, and try hitting enter now.
Okay, so I write a little bit of text.
Yeah.
At
Okay, maybe you need to exit it. So just
exit.
I would just try like opening the widget and just like press enter, like put your cursor in the widget,
Yeah.
press enter, even if you're in Zotero.
The Zotero is gone, but let me open it. Do I need the Zotero to make the citation on Word?
actually no, like it can be
Okay.
closed. It's automatically.
I need to open it.
Oh yeah, it says it needs to be open. My bad.
That's fine. I hope it's fine. It's fast. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no worries.
Vale, pues no. Why are you updated now? Okay. Add. Vale, Zotero, you're here. And then I'm here. Add citation.
Okay, try clicking once again, maybe.
Aquí está.
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
And it was Gardo. Yeah, this one, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
click on the name. I say page 34. Right?
yeah, and then click enter. Just like don't move anything. Click enter now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here it is.
Okay, now it is. Okay. Vale, perfect. I
Yeah.
don't know what happened.
Sometimes it can get glitchy, but yeah, just try again.
This part, like organizing, like I use it to organize, but then I wasn't able to figure out how to put the stuff in Word, so I ended up just typing the whole reference for
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh yeah, so I'm glad this feature was useful. So I'm not using Word that much myself, but I mean the plugin is there, so it's really easy.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
well, thank you for coming.
will you share the PowerPoint somehow?
Yeah, so did you leave me your email in the chat?
Yes, I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah, so you could either you know, write me a direct message. It's just the three of us here, or yeah, so I'm gonna share the slides and recording with everyone.
And sorry for taking everybody's time.
Oh, no worries. Spencer seems fine.
Okay. I'm sorry, Spencer.
No, it's good. I'm glad you figured it out.
Yeah.
Or got it figured out. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra.
Bye.
Bye.
I have a just super fast question. Do you know how to like search or like use the search function to only bring up notes you've written?
Let me
Because
see.
I've like, been trying and it feels like it should be easy, but
Not that I'm aware of. So
okay.
I don't think so. Like the other way, I make sure. So let me just share my screen real quick. Maybe this will be helpful.
Yeah.
So just to see where, like under which items I have notes, this is what I do. So you can customize these things here too, right? You could, I just chose to see notes, right? So basically what it's doing.
Oh, yeah, and then you can just sort by note.
Yeah, you could sort by note. Yeah, if you just click here, sort different ways. But basically what it does, it shows you how many notes you have under specific items. So, you know, I would go and just like look up articles to see where I made some notes. So you could, do it this way. I'm not sure whether, it could be complicated with search. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't find a way, but the way you just showed would work just fine for me. So
yeah, at least that's how I do it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks a bunch for this. It's really helpful.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it was. Like, you seem pretty advanced. Yeah, it seems you worked with it, but like, I'm glad it was still useful and you heard something new here.
Yeah, no, I did. Thanks a bunch for doing this. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Cool, of course. Well, have a good rest of your afternoon.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.